Bitcoin history. 14 years ago today, January 3rd, 2009, at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time, the mysterious individual or group known as Satoshi Nakamoto launched the Bitcoin network with the creation of the Genesis block. Before we get into it, make sure you visit ricetvx.com and sign up for my mailing list so you never miss an update or new Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain content. You will also find links to all of my various channels as well as my social media. Make sure you're following both of my YouTube channels, Rice TVX as well as Rice Against the Grain. And due to censorship, make sure you follow me on other alternative platforms such as Rumble and Odyssey, where I do post up exclusive content. If you want to support Rice TVX, be sure to check out and join my Patreon channel, where you will get early access to my videos with no ads, unedited. You will also get exclusive content and more. I will include links in the video description for everything I just mentioned, as well as everything shared on today's video. Today is a very historical day for cryptocurrency and sound money as we know it. 14 years ago, the Bitcoin network was launched with the creation of the Genesis block, or Block Zero. Now, to give a little bit of back history, just a few months prior, Satoshi Nakamoto released the Bitcoin white paper on October 31st, 2008. And there's actually some debate as to what is Bitcoin's birthday. Is it the day that the white paper was released or the day that the network was launched and the Genesis block created? And I believe it's the latter. But I did do a video a couple months ago about the Bitcoin white paper, and I definitely encourage you to check that out. I will have it linked down below in the video description and above, along with this playlist entitled Must Watch Crypto Playlist. It is the second video called This Changed the World and Money as We Know It. So the article that I'm going to be sharing on today's video is also linked down below, and it comes from bitcoin.com, written by Jamie Redmond, came out today, the 14th anniversary of Bitcoin's Genesis block, a look back at the birth of cryptocurrency. And we'll get into why it's called Block Zero and not Block One. It's really interesting because this is one of the things that I don't think everybody is fully aware of. 14 years ago on January 3rd, 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto launched the Bitcoin network and Block Zero at approximately 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time on a Saturday afternoon. Since Bitcoin was born, it changed the financial system significantly, and it has sparked an entire cryptocurrency economy worth more than $800 billion in value. The history and significance. Today is the 14th anniversary of the Genesis block, otherwise known as Block Zero, the first Bitcoin block that bootstrapped the network. Block Zero is special because there's no ancestral blocks before it, and it was hard-coded into the software so it would have an official starting point, and every node can validate the blockchain from the very beginning. Because Block Zero is hard-coded, the Coinbase reward of 50 Bitcoin stored within the first block can never be spent. The 50 Bitcoin is stored in a specific Bitcoin address, which I will include linked down below. It's in this article. And during the last 14 years, the address has seen a number of dust transactions sent to the wallet. This means that at the time of writing, the Bitcoin address has 68.56 Bitcoin in the wallet that can never be spent. They can never be moved. They can never be spent. But for whatever reason, to pay homage to Satoshi Nakamoto, and today, January 3rd, people do send small amounts of Bitcoin to that address. Also, another thing to notate about today, something else about today that's special. An OG Bitcoiner, Trace Mayer, he came up with this concept of proof of keys. And the idea was on January 3rd, any cryptocurrency that you're holding on a centralized exchange, remove the cryptocurrency and put it in a wallet that you possess and control the private key of so that you can prove that you have proof of keys. And I think it's even more relevant today with everything that we've seen last year with centralized entities like Celsius, Voyager, FTX, among others. Proof of keys is very important. So not only is today the anniversary of the launch of the Bitcoin network and the creation of the Genesis block, but it is also Proof of Keys Day. But to continue on talking about the Genesis block, this is an actual image of the raw hex version of the Genesis block. Something that you'll see right here where I'm circling my mouse is some information that was time stamped into this block, and I will be explaining that right here. A well-known fact about block 0 is the message that Satoshi Nakamoto encoded in the Coinbase parameter. This special code can be used to include an arbitrary message in the block. The message said, times 03 January 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout from banks. The message has been interpreted in a myriad of ways, but mostly as a reference to the financial crisis and bank bailouts of 2008. Now, something I'll include is something, I think it was from the London Times, is where this article came from specifically. So in the edit, I will add that article so you can see that as I'm talking and explaining a little bit about this message that was time stamped right here, because you can see the Times 03 January 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. Bitcoin users can confirm the Genesis block was the first block because, unlike every other block introduced to the system, it doesn't have a previous block to reference. The hash of where the previous block is supposed to be as reference is encoded with all zeros to indicate it's null. All the blocks that followed block 0 contain a hash of the previous block header, which connects the blocks into a chain, henceforth the name blockchain. And in order for a blockchain to start, it has to have a beginning, and a Genesis block is that beginning. Now, here's something that a lot of people don't know. And I learned this a few years ago, and still a lot of other, even YouTubers, crypto YouTubers, I don't really hear a lot of people that are fully explaining it this way. But after block 0, Bitcoin block 1 was not mined until 6 days later on January 9th, 2009 at approximately 9:54 p.m. Eastern Time. Block 2 was mined a minute later at 9:55 p.m., and block 3 was mined roughly 7 minutes later at 10:02 p.m. that evening. At this time, the following blocks started to have a more consistent block interval or time between each block. So there was supposed to be 10-minute block time, but there also needed to be more people on the network, more computers fighting to solve each block in order to get that block reward. As there got to be more people on, the difficulty increased and the time started to regulate itself and started to be 10-minute intervals. It's not always perfect, 100% 10 minutes, but it's roundabouts 10 minutes. That's why we can't really predict when a halving is going to be, because we don't know how much time it's going to take for each block to be mined. If for some reason a certain thing happens and blocks are mined within a 9-minute interval, that's going to cause the halving to take place sooner. So it's not always 100% consistent right at 10 minutes, and it had to have this starting point. But it goes into historical data, and it also talks about it's very likely that by January 10th of 2009, when computer scientist Hal Finney said he was running Bitcoin, he likely mined his first block that day, contributing hash rate to the newly launched network, because it says what the hash rate of the network was when back on January 5th of 2009, and it shows by January 12th an increase in the Bitcoin hash rate. And it was because we had Hal Finney join in with Satoshi Nakamoto. So Bitcoin changed everything because it introduced the first working solution to the Byzantine general's problem. And it was the first working triple entry bookkeeping scheme introduced to the world. Now, scheme was a bad word to use there. The technology Satoshi developed cannot be manipulated on a whim like the monies of central banks distribute to the lower echelon of banks and the world's policymakers. Bitcoin is a technology that provides uncensored transactions which allow for a free flow of ideas to grow. Amidst widespread deception by leaders and manipulation of currency, the demand for a secure, cryptography based payment system resistant to censorship persists. And I'll repeat that. The demand for a secure, cryptography based payment system resistant to censorship persists. The current monetary system has repeatedly been exploited by the global elite, taking the need for such a system increasingly relevant. So, as you can see here, I believe that Bitcoin is one of the most innovative ideas that we've had in history. Now, one thing that I will add is prior to Satoshi Nakamoto, there were many different cryptographers. And when I talked about that playlist, the must watch crypto playlist, I even have something talking about the cypherpunk manifesto. These cryptographers were known as cypherpunks. And there were many different cryptographers and cypherpunks that had tried creating a cryptocurrency, but they were unsuccessful at being able to solve the double spend problem. And that is what Satoshi Nakamoto was able to solve. Now, Bitcoin itself is kind of like a best of all these different technologies. The code is completely transparent and open source, so you can review everything about the code. So it's completely transparent so that you don't have to trust it. You can verify everything about it. So that's one of the most powerful things I believe that this world has seen. But there would not be a Bitcoin had it not been for all these pioneers prior to Satoshi Nakamoto, whether that is an individual or group. One person who I've mentioned in the past is David Chaum. David Chaum, it was 1982 or 1983, wrote a dissertation paper that included all but one element that was used in Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin white paper and blockchain. And this was even at a time when internet wasn't really readily available to individuals. That's how forward thinking David Chaum was. And David Chaum created the first digital, not cryptocurrency, but digital cash. I think it was called eCash, or I will try to find some information. I am drawing a blank on the name that uh, of the digital asset that was created. I'll tell you what I will do just for a moment. I will pull up some information here about David Chaum, so we can go ahead and clarify that, because this wasn't something I was originally going to speak about. But since I brought it up, it's 100% worth mentioning. And I will go ahead and do a screen share. And I will be screen sharing from Wikipedia. I do find this to be a good source. So let me go ahead and go full screen here. Okay, so David Chaum, it was DigiCash. I was thinking DigiCash, but then in my brain, I was thinking eCash, or excuse me, Digibyte, but it was ultimately eCash. So to show you here, he's an American computer scientist, cryptographer, and inventor. He was known as a pioneer in cryptography. Some people call him the godfather of cryptography. In his 1982 dissertation called Computer Systems Established, Maintained, and Trusted by Mutually Suspicious Groups, is the first known proposal for a blockchain protocol, complete with the code to implement the protocol. Chaum's dissertation proposed all but one element of the blockchain, later detailed in the Bitcoin white paper. He has been referred to as the father of online anonymity and the godfather of cryptocurrency. He is also known for developing eCash, an electronic cash application that aims to preserve a user's anonymity, and inventing many cryptographic protocols like the blind signature, mixed networks, and the Dining Cryptographers Protocol. In 1995, his company DigiCash created the first digital currency with eCash. His 1981 paper, Untraceable Electronic Mail Return Addresses and Digital Pseudonyms, laid the groundwork for the field of anonymous communications research. So this gentleman definitely set the pace for a lot of individuals. So there are many different cryptographers. Nick Zabos, I believe, was one. He's somewhat people question to be Satoshi. Adam Back was one, another that people believed to be Satoshi. Hal Finney was another, even to be believed to be Satoshi Nakamoto. And to this day, it is still unknown as to who Satoshi Nakamoto is. And I will be doing more videos this year talking about just that. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto? Why was Bitcoin created? There's a lot of different candidates, but I really wanted to do a video just to mark today's historical event. It took place 14 years ago, January 3rd, 2009, 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time. We saw the Bitcoin network launched. Block Zero, the Genesis block created. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have not smashed that like button, please take time to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, and I will leave you with this. I encourage you, as always, to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch you want to see in the matrix. Be the change you want to see in the world. And until next time, practice change.